listening to Feel Good Files with Lexi and Son.
Hi, Son.
Hey, Lex.
How you doing?
How you doing? Friends.
Yeah.
So, we're diving into our new file today.
I know. And I think it's going to be quite a emotional one, a real one today. And we're going to be chatting about grief, which I think is going to hit quite deep, but I think it is something that's quite relatable to a lot of our listeners.
Yes.
And it's going to be quite an interesting one. But, in true Lexi and Son style, we will try our utmost best to end it off on a feel-good note.
Yes. General tips how to make yourself feel better.
After grief.
And
there's many kinds of grief, that we'll try to touch on. Obviously, we can't chat about it all. And I just think it's important to embrace grief and to feel, because I think sometimes we try to steer ourselves away from actually feeling and going through those emotions and those waves. And I think this is quite an interesting conversation to have.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna touch on something that in our preamble we mentioned, and that was grief and getting over it. And my experience over the last couple of years is that it's not something you do get over.
No.
And it's something I'm talking now about actually losing people around you. I lost my parents. My sister and I and our families we lost our parents. They lost their grandparents, my son and his cousins. And you learn that it comes in waves, and even though it's nearly 3 years since my father died, so there are days where it feels like it was yesterday, and it hits you all over again.
Grief tsunami.
A grief tsunami. Those emotions, and no matter how young, old, or whatever that person is, it's never the right time, and how it happened and when it happened hits you so hard, and the possibility of never, the reality of never seeing that person again just is quite enormous.
Yeah, it's hectic.
Yeah, it's a moment
to process something like that,
Yes. One of the things that I have found really difficult is, in the early days when our dad died, people would say, "Oh, how old was he?" And then we'd say, he was nearly 86. And they were, he's lived a great life. And yes, he did.
Mm.
And, as time has gone on, I've learned to be really grateful for the fact that we had him around for as long as we did.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that I want to, mention today is the conversations that you have with people who are grieving.
Yeah, like what, from my side, I haven't gone through, that kind of grief. I lost my grandfather when I was a lot younger, and obviously it was really tough, and I still feel those feelings and those emotions, but I haven't really lost anyone too close to me as an adult. And what kind of questions would you want someone to ask you, or, check in on you? And would you want them to, or would you want to be on your own? How does someone come up to you and be like, "Are you doing okay?" Or what do you as a person like when you're going through grief?
Well, I think firstly it's something that's incredibly different for every single person. It's a not one size fits all type of scenario. There are so many things involved in your emotional state. I felt what really was fantastic was that, people checking in and making sure that you knew somebody was out there thinking of you.
Yes.
And I think that makes it very, you don't feel so lonely, because often when you're going through, especially a death, because grief is not only about death,
no, of course.
but, there's so much going on when it happens, and then saying goodbye to that person and whatever, and then suddenly you like in the middle of your life and carrying on with day-to-day stuff, and all these emotions every single day, there's something new.
Yeah.
For me, not receiving the phone call from my parents every day. My dad used to phone every day. Not hearing him and not being able to actually, when
Converse
when things happen, or
you want to
still
pick up the phone and phone them.
it still is. So having people around just checking in on you is a very important thing. It is. You don't have to phone every 2 minutes, and often the person who's going through that doesn't want
actually, they don't want to have a conversation. No. So like a simple message just saying thinking of you.
Yes.
Or okay.
And actually sometimes arranging something.
Yes.
Taking a plate of food.
Yeah.
Doing something for that person that they will love.
Yes.
And allowing them to talk.
Yes. Giving them that space.
Yes. Because it's so important that the memory of that person stays with you. I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years really looking at all the photographs and thinking
about those memories or so.
Yes, and also rediscovering my parents as youngsters. I've spent a lot of time and looking at how much fun they had when they were together, and they often used to go, even before they were married, you could see, or when they were married, about to have my sister, but they used to socialize. My mom dressed beautifully, and just really think of them in that way.
Yes, almost embracing the life they had.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. Yeah.
I haven't finished, but my father was a prolific cameraman. So he has left us with multitude of films.
Oh, wow.
Super 8 films, which we haven't gone through. I started going through, and it was such a joy to see how he saw us through his lens.
Yes.
And how he saw my mom.
Okay.
Through
his eyes.
Through his eyes, and how she used to interact with him through the camera, blowing kisses and stuff like that.
It's so special.
Yeah, kind of really see, it's a beautiful thing to actually rediscover them on a whole nother level, because you're older.
Yes, it's a little bit more relatable in a way.
Yes.
And do you feel that on those days where you get your grief tsunami, do you want to look at the pictures of them more often, or does that actually cause you more grief?
No. So for me, I think one of the things I want to say is that you really just need to allow that feeling to really take hold, and you need to notice it and acknowledge it and be mindful of it, and shout and scream if you feel like it.
Yes.
Do something that actually allows you. I often just feel like I need to just let it all out, and I cry, and I feel so much better after that. And then I try and do something that I know they would have loved.
Okay. That's really special.
Yeah. Listen to a piece of music. My parents often used to be my father loved opera, so he had his records, and they used to do that literally every day. So it's listening to a piece of music, reading something, remembering something. Luckily over the years, I took some videos of them, so you're listening to their voice.
Yes.
and really doing something that they would have enjoyed, even just enjoying a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
loved their coffee, and just being grateful that you had that time, and remember, and actually, allowing yourself to pass that moment with something that's positive.
Yes. Yeah. That's
Because
very special. And to allow I love how you said to allow the feelings, the emotions to have their space and have their time.
yes,
Because I think that's what makes you feel better, regardless of going through grief with death or like a loss, or, it could be breakup, it could be divorce, it could be, a change of job, to allow those feelings to happen.
yes, when things aren't going right, or there's a problem, or you've, grief is a feeling of loss.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a death.
Yeah, and it's like memories made, whether it's in a workspace. Now you're leaving to go to a different job. Yes, it may be exciting, or leaving to go on a different new adventure, but you've made those memories, and now those memories will be stayed there, and you'll be having to start new memories. But it's okay to grieve the past. And there was something so beautiful, actually, my sister told me when we both fell pregnant with our first children, when the kids were here. We realized, we don't have that time for ourselves anymore. But she said to me, it's okay to grieve and mourn your past life before children. And I was like, but I feel so guilty doing that. And she said to me, no, it's important to acknowledge that your life has changed and to grieve your past life, where you did have the time to go out and on a whim, or spontaneously, or, sleep
You were
in when
your
you want
own
to.
person.
I was. And I always just felt so guilty. And I think because a lot of people think grieving, you got to keep to yourself, or how can you feel those feelings? You must grow up, or you can't feel those emotions. And it's actually like, no, but it's okay. You should feel those emotions. It's important to process them.
It's so important to acknowledge them.
Yes.
And to actually say, that's how I'm feeling.
Exactly.
And then to actually allow that to pass through you and out.
Yes.
What does Shrek say?
Yes. What does he say again?
Better
out than in.
Better out than in, I say.
I know what I've experienced in the workplace, my workplace grief. Obviously, it's not the same kind of grief as a loss, but I do feel like it was a bit of grieving. I still feel so bad to this day. So the person, if you're listening, you know who you are. But, I always thought, and if you have listened to our previous file, we touched on this a little bit about change. I always thought in my mind that I would always be in the corporate world, and that's where I had set my mind to. And the day I decided to resign, this overwhelming, well, we can call it a grief tsunami, but it was like overwhelming amount of emotions came over me, and I just couldn't stop crying. So the day I put in my resignation with my manager, one of my mentors at work, she arrived at work, and I was in tears. And she also kind of knows our family. So I took her into a room, and she's like, "Who's died, Alexa? Who died?" Because she thought the way I was crying, someone had passed away. I was like, "I've just resigned." She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, that really is sad, but I thought something else had happened." And it's okay to feel that way and to allow that space. And I felt so good afterwards because I allowed myself to be vulnerable in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an important thing that you're just saying, though, because you do acknowledge that the person you thought you wanted to be.
Yes.
And then decided that wasn't right for you. You let go of all those things.
Yeah.
And there's a multitude of emotions. And grief is one of them.
Yeah.
Because for your entire life, you thought that was who you were going to be. And it's quite a thing to actually then acknowledge to yourself that it's not actually what I want to be.
Yes.
This is not who I want to be. And, you know, it's allowing yourself to process those emotions.
Yes.
And acknowledge them and not be fearful of them and not allow yourself to feel guilty for feeling them.
Yes.
Because, you know, it's actually good to label them.
It is. It really is.
And that's an important thing to teach our children as well.
Well, I was actually going to chat to you now about children and, you know, going through grief. You know, they go through a lot, you know, with school and friends. But when it comes to a death, how do you allow your child to process that and to acknowledge what grief feels like?
Yeah.
You know, and give them that space to feel it. But then often I read these things and it says you need to be strong for your kids. But sometimes I'm like, but trying to put on a face, is that not harming them in a way? You want to teach them that it's okay to feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel those emotions. And we've got to teach them grief maybe by leading by example. So, I mean, you've probably gone through it with your child. So, you know, if that ever happened to me, touch wood, how as a mom would I be able to, you know, teach my kids? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way. You know, every child's different too.
I think those are all important processes that you need to look at. You know, each child, you've got two children, and each child is so different.
Yes.
You know, they've got different ways of handling things and of coping with things. But, you know, at the end of the day, they learn the most by how you handle
and react. Yeah.
and react.
So I was going to say, do we protect them or do we show them?
Well, you know, practically speaking, you know, when this happened to us, when our nephew died, we both, funnily enough, my husband and I got the call on two separate, he got it on his cell phone and we still had a home phone at that stage.
Sure.
And we both heard the news
At the same time. Oh, I've got goosebumps.
And literally that first half hour was hysterical. We were both hysterical. And our child was witnessing us like gutted like that.
Yes.
And he was only 2 at that stage. And the bottom line is that at that moment burst a little bubble.
Mm.
Because children have this, you know, they have this idea of the world.
Yes, and you don't want that to
Unfortunately, we live in a society where, you know, we are hurting our children because
yes,
the bubble is not broken so quickly.
It's very distorted. It's no longer a bubble.
There's so many influences and they see things they shouldn't be seeing at the ages that they are and all of that stuff. And, you know, some children are more vulnerable than others when it comes to the notion.
Yes.
But for him, I think that was a moment where he suddenly realized, hang on, you know, that means that person's gone away forever.
Okay.
And that is very difficult to understand.
Yeah.
You know, when
especially
you're
at
young.
the age of 2.
And then, at the end of the day, if that can happen to that person, then they turn and they look at you and go, well, how do we know that you're not going to?
Yes.
And then what do you do then? Because you have to reassure them, but you also don't want to lie.
Exactly.
But you have to, and you know, you have to find the vocabulary and something that really supports them.
Yes.
Through that.
Okay. And I suppose, like you said, it's individual to each child. It's unique. And you've just got to go with it and just try not to hide.
No.
I suppose, too many things or
Yes.
too many emotions.
You know,
and explain, I suppose, verbalize.
I think in the beginning when our nephew passed away, we were like so hesitant to talk.
Mm.
And actually, in the end, it's important to talk. It's
Yes.
important to remember.
Yes.
And, that song by Coldplay, those who are dead are not dead. They live in my head. Memories are so important to bring up when you, whether it's a death or whatever it is, things you cherish about that specific person, moment,
or time,
time are things to reconnect with and remember and really honor.
Yes, yeah.
And enjoy,
Yes.
especially when it comes to a person, the things that they loved doing, the traditions they had.
Yeah.
Those are the things that
I suppose it's to help celebrate that person.
Absolutely.
Or that moment, or
Yes.
Yeah.
It's for me, I found a lot of peace in that.
Yes.
If I see a Ferrero Rocher chocolate, I
Yeah.
immediately say, nonno.
Yes. Yeah.
My dad used to always, whenever there was a celebration, he'd have a bottle of Prosecco and chocolate.
Yeah.
When there were bite chocolates going around, he'd buy bite chocolates. And then when those were difficult to find, Ferrero Rocher.
Was it? Yeah. When I see a pipe or smell the smoke from a pipe, I think of my nonno.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not to mention whiskey and milk.
Yes, his whiskey and milk, eh? Oh, my word. And whenever we used to go sleep over there in the mornings, he used to whistle from his bed to say he wants his coffee in bed. Every morning we would hear, and I can still hear it, his whistle. Every morning whistling for my gran to make his coffee. And then he would get out of bed.
What a cherished memory.
No, it's so special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so lovely.
I think those are, I think that the moments that are, I don't think that I can say that you get used to the grieving process. It takes you, I don't know, I can't even explain. Do
you think it's that you learn to celebrate them more? So you start thinking of all the cherished moments?
I think, that's how I've tried to deal with it.
Okay.
Because, the bottom line is it's happened.
Yes.
And there's nothing.
Yeah.
After that. That person is gone.
Now you have to move on.
Yeah. So you make space for it. You learn to live with it. But, for me, the fact that I've tried to look and really make space for all the things that they loved.
Yes.
And so that's how I like to remember my parents.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Allowing that space. And when you do feel that wave, you've got a space and you think of all the good things and all the good memories. And I think that probably helps with the big emotions that you go through. But I think that works for anything, whether it is loss or a change or moving to a different city or, something, breakup, a divorce. I think you need to allow yourself the space to actually celebrate the past, celebrate what came out of that relationship or out of that work or, or out of that career or the place that you lived in, and celebrate that.
Communicate it.
Yes, communicate it. And you know what? Like, I've seen many breakups and divorces, and it sometimes ends up being so messy and nasty and not nice. And, it's maybe, once everything's done, people must think about, well, what came out of that? What has it taught me? Yes, it was not amicable, but what lessons have I learned that are great, that's made me stronger? What did I get out of that relationship? Did I get children? You know, did I get a more mature version of me? What path has it put me on now? You know,
No.
rather try to take the positive out of it.
And
yes, it is sad.
Yes, but, be conscious and precise about what,
yes,
moving forward, what
yes,
you want to actually fill those moments with.
yes, your love tank. Because often you come out of grief feeling depleted. And I think often what happens is people do get depressed from grief, regardless of, like I said before, loss, change, moving. But I think why they become depressed is because they're not talking. They're not allowing the grief to be processed mentally. And allowing that brings out more of a positive side of grief.
I think for me, that's such an important point, Lexi, because you really have to acknowledge your own, the change that you're going through because of what's happened.
Yes.
Whether it's, like we said, whether you've lost a person, whether you've, something's changed in your circumstances, that grief that you're feeling has to really be acknowledged and processed. And for me, the other side of it is, well, what am I going to do to fill my own life with moving on? Because who I was at that moment has changed.
You are different.
And it will, you won't be the same.
No.
But
that is okay.
And that's okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that is also life. And that is
what
when
defines you.
Yes. When you go back to how your children react.
Yeah.
It's because, they need to see you through this process.
Yes.
And how you handle things.
Yeah.
Many years ago, a very good friend of mine who subsequently passed away, she got a brain tumor. And she used to call it Lynn's Anatomy.
Oh, wow.
She started a blog and she shared with us everything, all the process, what she was feeling, how she was doing, and I mean, it taught me so much about, sharing this and being open about it. And really, I think her husband, when she died, he actually, I think he published that as a little book. He's remarried now.
She's probably had to grieve. She probably went through grieving her own, knowing that she was probably going to be passing away.
Well,
I mean, that must have been so tough. That's a different kind of grief.
She had 2 kids.
Wow.
So she knew just before she died, she knew that she was never going to see them grow up.
Yeah.
And that,
that's so sad.
Yeah. But it also, if I had to share, I must see if I can find it. It was called Lynn's Anatomy.
So beautiful.
She kind of took it over from Grey's Anatomy.
Yes, yeah.
But, she really used to share all the things that she was going through, and she had a great sense of humor. She wrote beautifully, but it really kind of lifted the lid on the taboo of it.
Yes.
And, so in the end, think to yourself, you've always got 2 options.
Yes.
Yeah. This way or that way.
Yeah.
So, every single one of us is very different. So we are going to react very differently to whatever happens to us. But at the end of the day, if you look at yourself and you're full of intention, you can say to yourself, I'm allowing myself to
grieve,
be really gutted.
Yeah.
I feel gutted. And that's fine, because you should be.
Yes.
You had, for whatever you're grieving, yes, that thing has changed, gone, left, whatever. But then move into something about, well, how am I going to deal with that situation?
Yes.
How am I going to actually deal with?
Yeah. Almost, how am I going to get out of that hole? You know,
Yes.
how am I going to move on? What have I learned? Yeah.
Yes. Because, I mean,
What
you know,
can I embrace also?
Yeah.
You know?
If it is a death,
Yeah.
would that person have wanted you to stop living?
No.
I know for a fact.
Depends what kind of person it was. No, I'm just joking.
But
Yeah.
I can tell you right now that, when I think of my mom and dad, I know they they would have wanted us to carry on the traditions that they established so
Yeah.
beautifully. The reunions and a lot of there's
Yes.
always food and drink and the family stuff that we used to do. Those are the things that are important.
Yes.
And you have to carry them on.
Yeah. And embrace it and see it as being happy.
Yes, and
a happy memory.
Yes, and I see it as a way to honor them.
Yeah. Obviously, that hole in your heart will never be filled. There will always be a piece of you gone. But
No.
when you are feeling that grief tsunami, try think of all the happy memories and go back and look at pictures or drink a coffee intentionally.
Or do something if you don't have those.
Yeah.
Because, like our nephew, he died so
Yes.
young.
Yeah.
The bottom line is do something that he no longer can.
Exactly.
But you can.
Exactly.
In his name and in
Yeah.
his honor. And those are the things that I feel are the connections that you make going forward.
Yeah. It's the feel-good factor.
The feel-good factor.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we always remembered our nephew with a song from James Blunt, and then years later his brother said, oh no, he used to hate that song.
Oh gosh. That's brilliant.
So now we laugh about it.
Yes, which
because
is so lovely.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of like hearing the song and then grieving and being so upset, but actually
Yes.
hearing the song and embracing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's fine when we going back to the kids. It's important that if you're feeling sad, that you say, I'm feeling really sad today, but I'm going to be okay. I'm allowing myself to feel a bit sad.
Yes.
Can I have an extra hug?
Yeah, but you need to fill my love tank. So come give me hugs. Yeah.
Come give me hugs.
Yeah.
But it's fine to cry.
Yeah, and to feel.
Because I feel that's how I feel today. I'm feeling a little bit sad.
Yeah.
And that they understand that all of these things are normal.
We almost need to normalize grief.
Yes.
Yeah.
The taboo.
Yeah. Definitely.
Death is like life. It is so much part of our lives.
It is.
Whether it's, the death, like an actual death, or something that's hasn't happened, or plans that have gone awry, or,
Yes. Yeah.
it's the change.
Yeah, it is.
Back to the change file.
Yeah. We do refer back to our file.
Yes, how to cope.
Yeah, with the change.
With the change.
And change is grief in a way. A form of it.
Could be.
Anyway.
Yep, because, you're having to let go of something.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're having to, when it's
small or big.
Yes. When it's confronting a death, that part of you, who you were with that person, is no longer.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it's a memory.
Yes. And that is not an easy thing in life to
feel.
But it's okay to feel that.
Exactly. Anyway, Son, should we wrap up?
We shall wrap up. Our feel good is you
can feel. And once you feel, you'll feel good afterwards.
Allow yourself that feeling.
Yeah.
Think about it. Put on something that makes you remember that moment, that person. I love the music, but there's a whole lot of stuff. you know,
Yeah.
the memory of something that was precious.
Yeah, music's my go-to also. It always brings up all the memories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And why wouldn't it?
Exactly.
It's
So lovely.
yes, a specific tune has that memory for you.
Yes.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Son. That was
Yeah,
lovely.
Thanks.
Really enjoyed
Lex.
it. All right. Don't forget to
Like, share, follow.
follow. You can subscribe on YouTube and comment and give us love.
Yes, comment on the actual channels that you are watching or listening
Yeah.
are so important to us.
Yes. We want to hear your feedback.
Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.